Welcome back to MMA.I. Today we're previewing Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad, the fight night that we have coming up this weekend. And oh man, we're getting used to this software. We're going to crack it one time eventually, Oscar. But thank you very much for joining me. And my right-hand man, Oscar, once again, thank you very much for joining me. How's it going over there in America?
It's going just fine. Another weekend of fights, and I can't wait.
Yeah, a great weekend of fights as well. A very, as you said there off stream, a very stacked card. Which fight on the card are you most looking forward to?
I can guarantee that Misha Serkinov and Ryan Spann does not go to the distance. In fact, I have money on that bet, and we're going to see a finish. I can guarantee it. That fight is going to be fireworks. Both guys can submit each other. Both guys can knock each other out. It's a really a wild card fight, and I say stay on the edge of your seat for that one because something's bound to go down.
Oh, definitely. I'm not going to the toilet as soon as them boys get onto the octagon. I'm very bad at doing that, going to the toilet as soon as the fight comes on. But anyway, a great fight night. We've got some great fights here. We've got Leon Edwards, obviously, Belal Muhammad at the top of the bill. Misha Serkinov, Ryan Spann, Dan Ige versus Gavin Tucker. That has fight of the night written all over it. Incredible fight.
Yeah,
we've got Jonathan Martinez versus Davy Grant. Incredible fight. So what was you going to say, sorry?
Yeah, we can expect fireworks all over this card. You got guys like Charles Jourdain on the prelims. You have a lot of fights that are very competitive, and we could see some huge upsets this weekend. Who knows?
Yeah, we've got Jonathan Martinez, Davy Grant. Martinez coming off to the biggest win in his career versus Thomas Almeida. And then we've got Matthias Nikula, I don't know how to pronounce that name, but versus Manel Cap. That's a great fight. And to start the main card, how about this? Eric Anders versus Darren Stewart. That honestly, that has fight the night also written all over it.
Yeah, those guys have fight-ending power. And on the ground, they can definitely get it done there, too. You saw Darren Stewart get a first-round guillotine last year.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking so excited to it. So why not? Let's start off at the main event of the evening. That's what we're here to talk about. Leon Edwards coming in at minus 260 favorite. So what does that mean? You put $100 on him and you get 260 back? That's not, or is it the other way around? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, you have to bet $260 to make $100 profit on it.
Oh man, yeah. See, I'm not too sure betting, but yeah, is that a good line, or do you reckon it should be lower?
I reckon it should be lower, especially due to the fact that he's coming off extensive layoff. It's been about 600 days since he defeated Rafael dos Anjos by unanimous decision, and Belal Muhammad fought literally a month ago against Diego Lima, and he had the performance of a lifetime. He looked as good as you can look in there, and his cardio was on point, and he was able to fight his fight. And if he fights his fight, it's going to be a tough night for Leon Edwards. But that's not what I see happening. I think Leon Edwards is still as good as he was when he was active back in 2019. And I think he's going to remind people why he was on an 8-fight winning streak, beating guys like Dos Anjos and Cowboy. He's a real deal. And I think with a win here, he gets a title shot. Probably not immediately because we got Usman and Masvidal probably coaching the Ultimate Fighter. But the winner of that, he probably gets a title shot. And personally, I'd like to see him fight Masvidal because those guys got in a legitimate fight backstage. And I always like to see it play out in the octagon. But never count out Belal Muhammad. He's won 8 of his last 9. If you look at their records, they're identical. They're both 18-3, and they both won 8 of the last 9. Both of these guys are really hot welterweights, near the throne. And a win for Belal Muhammad would do so much for him. But honestly, I just don't see him getting it done against a guy who's fought the better competition and beating them, and also has gone 5 rounds on multiple occasions, and he's looked great. So I'm going to side with Leon Edwards, and I think he gets this done by unanimous decision.
Yeah, definitely a great fight, a good fight on the feet as well. I do feel like Leon Edwards has that edge on the feet though compared to Belal. I think Belal was a chain wrestler in my opinion. He's very good with his takedowns, very good with his pressure. I think he's going to cause a lot of problems with Leon Edwards with that pressure. Leon Edwards is known for his pressure, but Belal Muhammad is on another level of pressure. And watch his fight versus Lima. He did not let Lima breathe in that fight. He didn't let him have 10 seconds of rest, of breath. And Leon Edwards, though, he's going to deal with that pressure, be calm, cool, collected, maybe pick him apart on the feet, look to get them counters. And I think he picks them apart I think he picks them apart on the feet, gets them counters, and maybe not. I don't think he puts them away. If he puts them away, it's in the later in the fight in the 4th or 5th round.
Yeah, he did clip Gunnar Nelson when they fought. So, but we've seen Belal Muhammad get knocked out by Vicente Luque in a minute in Madison Square Garden on that UFC 205 card. But since then, he's fought some guys with some really good power, such as Lehman Good, who's massive. He's got a ton of power, and he got cracked by him on multiple occasions, and he kept on fighting. Belal Muhammad's really tough. I think if Leon Edwards didn't finish Cowboy or Dos Anjos, guys that have more miles on the clock, I think Belal Muhammad should stick in there. And I did bet this fight to go over 4.5 rounds. So
that's a smart bet in my opinion. I think this fight definitely goes to the distance because I feel like Leon is a great fighter. He's a top tier talent in the UFC, but he's not much of a finisher. As you see there, look at the amount of decisions he's had recently. Dos Anjos decision, Nelson decision, Cerrone decision, Peter Sabota, he finished that one. Barberena decision. So it's very a smart bet to bet on the decision. That's the way I see it going in Leon Edwards' way. Well, we got a cracker of a co-main event. Misha Serkinov versus Ryan Spann. A cracker at 205 pounds. Misha Serkinov come off a Peruvian necktie versus Jimmy Crute. And now he takes on Ryan Spann, who just came out of a KO loss in a wild fight against Johnny Walker. This fight here has the meanings of fight of the night potential. You said it there in the intro. What's your opinions of this fight and who takes it?
We just spoke about Leon Edwards coming off a long layoff. Misha Serkinov is coming off a huge layoff as well. He hasn't fought since he got that unbelievable Peruvian necktie against an undefeated Jimmy Crute. That might be one of the best victories of his career. But here's the problem with Serkinov. He's very inconsistent and he's very vulnerable in those exchanges. And he tends to get clipped. And when he gets clipped, he either gets finished, or he gets the submission when the guy gets overzealous. And Ryan Spann got overzealous in his last fight against Johnny Walker. He was winning that fight, if you recall. He had Johnny Walker badly hurt, but he made a big mistake. He went for a takedown, and Johnny Walker, of course, isn't the best jiu-jitsu player, so instead of trying to hunt the guillotine, he got those elbows and got the knockout. Misha Serkinov is probably going to hunt the choke if he goes for the takedown after he rocks him. So I'm very concerned about that. But as I said, Misha Serkinov has gotten knocked out on multiple occasions. He's gotten finished by ground and pound by Glover. He got knocked out by Johnny Walker in spectacular fashion. But since then, he's actually trained with Johnny Walker and cornered him. So he's probably learned from those mistakes. But as we saw, Ryan Spann, he likes to get those knockouts against Johnny Walker, and I don't think Misha Serkinov's chin is as good as Johnny Walker. So I'm going to side with the guy with more power here as Ryan Spann, but it could go in either way. This is a pick-em fight for me. Which side are you on?
I'm also on the Ryan Spann side. I think he's, the younger man. I definitely think he's better on the feet. If it goes to the ground, Misha Serkinov, he's a dangerous guy on the ground. He's got that good ground game, as we've seen against Jimmy Crute. A beautiful Peruvian necktie in that fight. But yeah, I'm going to go with Ryan Spann in this fight because I purely think he's going to catch him early and put his lights out.
That's the most likely outcome, if you ask me. Sometimes people like to bet on the guys that hunt the submissions in the small apex cage, but we've seen plenty of those guys get knocked out in there, such as who was the guy that fought Anthony Hernandez and gassed out because he was very
Oh,
muscular?
Rodolfo Vieira or something
Yes,
like that.
yes, Vieira. Yeah, Rodolfo
Vieira,
Vieira. Yeah, yeah. Sometimes those guys hunt those submissions and gas out and get clipped. That's probably what's gonna go down there.
Yeah, a great fight as well at 145 pounds. We have Dan Ige versus Gavin Tucker. Gavin Tucker coming off that win against, was it the Billy Colatino? But before that, it was Justin James. And then Dan Ige coming off a loss versus Calvin Cater, United Decision. That was also a 5-round fight. Main event back in on the UFC Fight Island. Who have you got in this fight? A cracker of featherweight.
For a while, I actually had Gavin Tucker picked, but when I look more into this fight, Danny is probably going to get it done. He's fought the better competition, and he even beat Edson Barbosa. Coming into that fight, I honestly didn't give him a chance because Edson Barbosa he was a big deal coming down from lightweight, and he was able to get those takedowns and hang in there on the feet. That was a controversial decision, but watching that fight live, I thought it clearly went Ige's way. Gavin Tucker, he just beat Billy Quarantillo. Billy Quarantillo is one of the most watchable fighters on this UFC roster. He always makes those fights ugly. He makes them wild, but he was the smarter fighter in there that night, and he was able to take him down. But I don't think he can take down Ige. Ige is a really good wrestler, as he showed against Edson Barbosa.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm also going on the same side as you. I think I've got Danny Ige in this fight. I think there won't be a finish. I think we'll see a decision in this fight, and I think it's going to be in favor of Danny Ige. I see him better on the feet, and I see him maybe winning them wrestling exchanges. But Gavin Tucker is a great wrestler on his own right.
One thing worth mentioning is Danny Ige is usually at a reach disadvantage in this fight, especially against Edson Barbosa. In this fight, he actually has a 5-inch reach advantage. Isn't that crazy? So I think he'll take advantage of that.
100%. I've got Danny Ige for the win. You've got Danny Ige for the win. But Gavin Tucker, he's 13-1 for a reason. Now, one loss came against Rick Glenn 3 years ago, and since they've bounced back with 3 wins in a row. There's going to be a great fight at featherweight. Make sure to tune in and watch that one because that's definitely going to be entertaining. But we've got a really good fight at 135 pounds. Jonathan Martinez versus my hometown. Well, not hometown. My homie. We call him my homie. My homie David Grant. A fight coming over to America, to the States to fight Jonathan Martinez. A cracker of a fight. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to favor Jonathan Martinez in this fight. What's your thoughts?
Jonathan Martinez is a big favorite here, and for a good reason. He's looked really good against good guys. Thomas Almeida's no joke. Before that, he got a win. In my opinion, he had gotten a win over Andre Ewell. That was a very controversial decision. He missed weight against Frankie Saenz, but he got a finish over against a guy who has a win over Merab. So I just think Jonathan Martinez is really good, and he's a prospect to watch out for. He's one of those fast Factory X guys like Youssef Zalal, Anthony Smith. Those guys are on a roll right now, and they've really shined during this pandemic era of the UFC. And he stayed very busy. And David Grant's always stayed quite busy. But if you look at those last 2 wins, they're not that impressive. And he can be taken down, and I just like a guy like Jonathan Martinez who's well-rounded, and his career trajectory is on the come up. So I'm going to side with the younger guy.
David Grant coming off the Ultimate Fighter 18 has a win over Marlon Chito Vera. How good does that look right now? But he got submitted in the final versus Chris Holdworth, a guy that had tremendous potential until we ran into TJ Dillashaw's knee in training. But we won't talk about that. He's been submitted twice in the past versus Manny Bermudez. A great, a BJJ a practitioner as well. But just wasn't there for that dedication. He just always missed weight. But we're not talking about him. We're talking about David Grant. He's been submitted twice. In his last fight, he got that left hook versus Martin Day. I believe Martin Day is now released from the UFC. But this is a great fight, a great scrap. I think it'll be contested on the feet. I think Jonathan Martinez will keep it standing. I think he's going to get the better of David Grant. But David Grant, with a fighter like that, Jonathan Martinez has to stay perfect for 15 minutes because David Grant can land at any moment and put his lights out.
Absolutely.
Talking about bangers, we're going on to banger and banger and banger. This just tells you how stacked this card is. From Jonathan Martinez to David Grant, Daniga to Gavin Tucker to Matthews Nkulu versus Manel Cap. This is an insane main card, and we've got even more better fights to talk about. Who you favoring in this card? In this fight, I mean.
Yeah, I'll say it straight up. I really like Cap in this fight. Nicola has been unbelievably inactive. If you look at his record within the past 6 years, he's fought like 4 times. He's not been active, and Cap was over in 1FC knocking guys out. And Nicola's been knocked out before against Dustin Ortiz. So I like Cap to get this done by second round knockout. And this will be like a real introduction to the UFC fans for him, because his last one, he was just looking for that bomb the entire time against Alexander Pantoja. And he needs to change it up this time. He needs to actually have more output, because that's what cost him last time. His grappling actually looked really good last time. He got a takedown at the end of almost every round. So that really impressed me as well. And I'm actually seeing him hanging around with the likes of the Nurmagomedovs, the Islam Makhachevs, the Umar Nurmagomedov. I saw him hang around with those guys at the Apex. He's stuck around in Vegas and has been training with the athletes that have stopped by. And those guys have fared pretty well. Belal Muhammad was one of those guys that stuck around the Apex when he fought there. And those guys have done well. So I'll side with Cap. I think Cap is really gonna cement himself in this division after a pretty rocky debut.
Yeah, exactly. A great way of putting it. A great word as well. Rocky debut. You know, as you said, there wasn't enough output in that fight. Just seemed timid. UFC debut might have had a little bit of jitters. Wasn't really letting that right hand, his left hand go. The volume wasn't there that night, but the volume is definitely going to be here this night from Mel Cap. I think he's going to learn from that. He's going to move on, and he's going to really let his hands go in this fight. And as you said, there, Nicolou, he's been stopped twice in the past, and when you look at something like that, you think, well, if Manel Cap lands, it could be an early night for him. But with little guys and flyweights like this, I always bet a decision, because I just don't see enough finishes in this division unless you're at the top of the division. But yeah, I've got Manel Cap decision. Well, let's talk about another banger. To start off the main card, we've got Eric Anders, who I spoke to on Pulse Talks Radio, versus Darren Stewart. Incredible fight to open the card. And he said this is a fight of the night potential fight. And I agree with him. Look at this fight. These two are going to meet in the middle. And he said, what he said is, well, we're going to lock horns. And he went like that. And that's a great way of putting it. This fight, they're both going to stand in the middle and they're both going to trade. And whoever gets the better in exchanges is going to win.
Absolutely. Darren Stewart possibly got a 10-8 round in his last fight against Kevin Holland. And that fight was very competitive. I am a big Kevin Holland fan, and seeing him against Darren Stewart made me nervous. That was quite a competitive fight. And now Kevin Holland is ranked at number 10, and this guy's on the outskirts of the rankings. So he should not be disrespected here. Eric Anders, he's come back and forth between 185 and 205. He's been quite inconsistent, He went to split decision with Gerald Meerschaert, who I don't think Gerald Meerschaert is top of the food chain kind of guy. So I think if Darren Stewart can fight a smart fight and try to clinch him up against the fence and get his hands going, I think he probably gets this done. But Eric Anders is very, very athletically impressive. He was an American football player. He really he's looked really good on some nights, but in that fight against Khalil Roundtree, that's when I really felt he got exposed. He had no answer for those leg kicks. I'm not saying Dan Stewart's gonna start throwing leg kicks like crazy, but the kind of guys that he's beaten as of late have not been the most impressive competition. Tim Williams, Joe Mearshart, and Vinicius Moreira. I'm just not seeing him shine against the best of competition. So I'll side with Darren Stewart, who I believe belongs in the rankings right now.
Yeah, a brilliant way of saying it, because Darren Stewart, he said there, his last fight, got that 10-8, possibly a 10-8 round versus Kevin Holland, a very, very close fight. And even Kevin Holland said that he lost that fight. That's crazy.
He said it was a draw. He said it was a draw.
Oh, a draw. Oh, he said, did he say like he felt like he lost it or something like that?
Yeah, because he completely gassed in the third round, so he felt it was a 10-8.
Yeah, well, it was a crazy fight, good affair between the two, and a very, very close fight. It could have went any guy's way, and a draw would have been sensible. But yeah, Darren Stewart, he said that he belongs, at the top of the division. In his last, we mentioned that, I just mentioned it, but in his last fight, that close fight against Kevin Holland, and I think this is, going to be a good fight for him to kind of get him back in the win column. Even though I just spoke to Eric Anders, this is a great fight for both men, a good fight stylistically for both men, because I feel like they're both going to play in each other's game plan. I think they're both going to stand on the feet, and they're both going to look to trade. But Darren Stewart can also, get a takedown of his own. We've seen that in the Kevin Holland fight. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see Darren Stewart shoot after he's in a little bit of trouble and maybe secure that takedown. But I've got Darren Stewart in this fight, and I'm also going to take it via decision.
Yeah, I think this fight probably goes to the decision, unless this looks like the Julian Marquez Darren Stewart fight, which was an insane war where eventually Darren Stewart got guillotined. But I see those guys playing a little more smarter.
Well, that's the end of the main card. Absolutely stacked main card. But we've got a few fights on the prelims that me and Oscar will recap. We'll keep it nice and short for you. We've got Nasrat Haqparast versus Rafael Garcia. He stepped in at short notice. Ronnie Johar versus Ray Rodriguez, a great fight. And Charles Air Jourdain versus Marcelo Rojo. And Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoda. Some great fights on the prelims. And we've got Jun Yu Fry as well, the former Invicta champion, fighting the second fight of the evening. We have Jason Whit versus Matthew. Oh no, Schmelzberger. I think that was Schmelzberger. Yeah. Which ones do you want to recap? Should we go for Charles Air Jourdain versus Marcelo Rojo?
Yeah, that's a fight that really intrigues me. Jourdain is a really fun fighter to watch. When he knocked out Doo-Hoo Choi, the Korean Superboy, that's when I jumped on the bandwagon. This guy has a ton of power, and we've seen him face adversity before and able to come back and fight. In this fight against Josh Culibao, he was a massive favorite, and he got clipped early on. And I had all the confidence in the world that he was going to win that fight. And I just felt that it was over for him in that first round. But he survived and eventually won the next 2 rounds and got the draw there. That was a really fun fight to watch. And I don't think he gets clipped here against Rojo. And Rojo has never been stopped. But I think Charles Jourdain is going to try to do something flashy here. In his last fight, he tried to do all kinds of flying knees and stuff like that. In the interviews, he said he made that mistake last time around. And also the fact that he fought on Fight Island did not really suit him. He said fighting on Fight Island with the odd time schedules, they were fighting in the morning. That really didn't suit him well. And he went for a crazy knockout and he didn't get it and he paid for it. I don't think Rojo is going to make him pay for those crazy attempts. So I'm going to side with the guy who went to a split decision with, Andre Philly. And that fight was really close. It could have gone to either guy. Charles Jourdain he's gonna be he only has time to grow, if you ask me. He really wants to fight Cub Swanson. And with a knockout here, that's a real possibility if Cub loses to Giga Chikadze.
Yeah, this is a great affair at 145 pounds. This is a great fight. But I'm rooting with the Charles Air Jordan just because he's got that little bit of a UFC caliber behind his belt. Fought in the UFC for was it 4 fights now in the UFC? Now he'll be making his 5th walk to the octagon. But yeah, and his last fight, he said there he got dropped, came back, got that split draw, crazy fight. Lost against Des Green, lost against Andre Philly, but against Marcus Rojo, who's been stopped in a via submission, but he's never been finished on the feet. So I don't see that happening in this. I think Charles Jourdain will keep this fight on the feet, and he'll pick him apart for 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I expect to go down. What do you want to preview next?
We'll go for 2 more. We'll go for the Nasrat Haqparast versus Rafa Garcia. It's quite an easy, well, not quite, no disrespect to Rafa Garcia. I'll go with Nasrat Haqparast straight away. I think this guy, he's a real prospect. Other than that loss against Drew Dober, he's looked impressive inside the octagon. We also got that loss in his debut versus Marcin Held. But, he's defeated some really good opponents. Joaquin Silva, beat Alex Munoz. A really good high-rated prospect. T-Boy Guti. Oh, and he's even defeated Mark D. Casey as well. But I think I'm going to favor, has to be Nasrat Haqparast in this fight. He's got that UFC caliber experience. And Rafa Garcia, is 12-0 outside of the UFC. He used to fight in Combat America. He's fought some, decent level competition. In his last fight, he fought 18-7 Humberto Benarane. These are so hard to pronounce. Anyway, yeah, I'm favoring Nasrat Haqparast in this fight. Who you got?
Garcia's a talented grappler. He really is, but Nasrat has only struggled since that Marcin Held fight against Drew Dober, who clicked him early on. And he was a huge favorite to beat Drew Dober because of how well his win streak had gone before that. He's a great prospect. He's on the outskirts of the rankings. And a win here could get him a ranked opponent. Haqparast probably wins by unanimous decision here. He's going to outstrike him. He's 3 inches taller. And I don't see Haqparast submit him, which that's what... No, I don't see Garcia submitting. Garcia tends to chase submissions in. Haqparast really, he looks pretty good on the ground, if you ask me.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I'm going with it. I've got Haqparast in this fight. I think he keeps the fight standing, avoids the takedown offense from Rafa Garcia, and takes that decision to the judges and wins it. But yeah, we've got one more to recap on the prelims. Who would you like to recap? I've got who should we go for?
Aldridge.
Aldridge. You want to go for JJ Aldridge versus Courtney Casey? 125 pounds. Courtney Casey step up to 125 pounds after she fought 115 and got that armbar win versus Mario Barrero, and then her last fight got submitted versus Gillian Robertson. But now she steps in across the octagon at 125 pounds versus JJ Aldridge. And who are you taking in this fight?
On lower level women's MMA fights, I usually like to go with the underdog because I just see that happening over and over again. We saw Alexis Davis win after we saw who won before that? Kunitskaya won. Those two were underdogs, so it just keeps on happening. But here, I really like this matchup for Aldridge. Aldridge is a mean striker, and Courtney Casey really only gets it done if she's going to get it done inside the distance. She gets this done by submission. And JJ Aldridge beat that one girl that submitted Molly.
Lauren Muller?
No,
Viana?
Yeah, Viana. We just saw her get a submission. She's so dangerous on the ground. She's a black belt. And Casey got the 3rd round submission against I forgot against who, but I really have to side with Aldridge. I've just seen Aldridge look so much better on the feet, and Aldridge could even get a 3rd round stoppage. Aldridge is going to beat her up on the feet, and she's going to avoid any takedown attempts from Courtney Casey, Courtney Casey is almost has an even record. Her record is 9-8. That's just not a pretty record, and she's very inconsistent. So I'll go with somebody who's more inconsistent. Do you think this goes to the judges? Because I think it probably does.
Yeah, 100%. This definitely goes to the judges. Even though in Courtney Casey's last two fights, there's been finishes. She has finished Mara Borello, but then she got finished versus Jillian Robertson. But a lot before that, it was decisions. A lot of decisions as well. But if you look at JJ Aldridge's record as well, a decision her last fight, and then before that, decision also. But before that, she got finished Macy Barber. But yeah, I think that would maybe that was a lot of decisions wins for both women. So yeah, it's very sensible to bet on the decision for either women here. But I am going to face JJ Aldridge. As you said, she's the better striker. I think she's going to have the power as well. I think she's like. What's the reach and the size advantage for her? Or was it Courtney Casey's? But she's quite tall.
Courtney Casey's taller, but she's at a reach disadvantage ever so slightly.
Yeah, I feel like JJ Aldridge is a bit short, got a bit more muscle on her. I think she's gonna maybe land with power in this fight, but she's gonna land consistently. A lot of volume coming Casey's way, but I feel like Casey's gonna look for that takedown. But Aldridge, she's gonna avoid that and keep the fight standing and clip Casey on the end of her punches.
Yeah, the judges usually like to go with the person who has the more immediate effect with their strikes, and if you land with more power, you're gonna have more immediate effect with your strikes. So I'll side with her to get it done on the judges. Aldridge.
So we'll go off for the rest of the prelims. We'll quickly do our quick predictions. Yeah. So who we got? Angela Hill versus Ashley Yoda.
Angela Hill by split decision. This is just going to be a really competitive fight, but Hill's the better striker.
Yeah, exactly. I'm favoring that way. Every match as well. Angela Hill takes this one versus unanimous decision. Ronnie Johar versus Ray Rodriguez.
Johar is an excellent grappler. He submitted Luke Sanders. And who's he fighting?
Ray Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. Yep. Rodriguez likes to, he's a grappler himself. And if this goes to the ground, Johar has a clear advantage. So unless Ray Rodriguez clips him, it's going to go Yaha's side. Yeah.
I'm going Johar round one submission. I think he stops him round one. All right, we got John Yu-Free versus Gloria DePaula.
I saw Gloria DePaula's Contender Series debut, and she looked really good out there. Jin Yu-Free is like 35 now. She has the advantage in the experience. She's a former Invicta champion, but this is actually a pretty good matchup for Gloria DePaula everywhere. DePaula's got better striking, so I think she'll opponent her over the course of 15 minutes.
This is quite a hard one to pick. In the famous words of Oscar Silva, this is a pick and fight. That's what he would say, wouldn't he?
Absolutely, this is a pick and fight. If Jin Yu-Free gets some takedowns or just bullies her in the clinch, she could win this. Frey's a little smaller, but we've seen her come in pretty jacked recently in her fights. But Loma Lookboonmee is no chump. She was a monster in the clinch, so that's why she lost her last one. She's really tough, so this probably goes to the judges.
Yeah, 100%. It goes to the judges, but I'm gonna favor DePaula in this fight. Oh, you thought I was going Junior Frey. No, I'm going to go with DePaula in this fight. As you said there, she's got that reach advantage and that height advantage, and I feel like she's going to come in. I also watched her contender fight. She's got really good striking, and I think she'll be able to keep this fight on the striking and get the better of Junior Frey in this fight. But it's a great debut for DePaula. She's going to be tested for sure. The first fight evening.
Let's go to the final fight.
Final fight of the evening, we have Jason Whit. But first fight of the evening, Jason Whit versus Matthew Schmelzberger. Who have you got in this one?
Whit is much smaller. He's actually 3 inches shorter and has a 5-inch reach advantage. But he has much more experience. He has more than about double the fights. So I'll side with him purely based off of that and his ability to get takedowns. And James Krause is in his corner. James Krause directed him through a submission in his last fight on Halloween. It was a very violent one, if you remember it. He got nasty ground and pound going with those elbows. And if Semelsberger can't get it going on the feet, Whit probably gets it done by unanimous decision because he has more experience and his ground game is, I would say, much better than Semelsberger. A lot of people are expecting Semelsberger to get this done, but I don't see it. And I think this is probably going to be the upset of the night.
Also, in the famous words of Oscar, if you fight in bad competition outside the UFC, I can't favor you. And that's also what's in Schmelzberger's record. There's not many, impressive wins there. He had a loss, a TKO loss versus Jamel Featherstone, who was 0-0-0. And
oof.
Yeah, oof. And then his other loss was against Darren Costa, who's 3-4, and that was a Darce choke.
Yeah, I was just saying this guy doesn't even have half the fights that Whit does, and Whit has got that James Krause in his corner. Krause, I like to back Krause guys. I just said I like to back Krause guys, and I didn't pick Megan Anderson. Yeah, she's a Krause girl. I didn't bet her because we've seen her crumble before, but in this case, we saw Whit. His UFC debut was against Sato, and he got cleared for that fight just hours before the fight. It was originally a prelim fight, and it got out of the main card basically because the commission was not able to clear him until then. So I really don't think you can take much away from the guy. If he was barely cleared a fight, you can't take away too much from him. But I'll side with him because of his ground game here. His chin did look suspect in that fight, but if Semelsberger doesn't knock him out, he's going to get those takedowns and win on the judges' scorecards.
Yeah, exactly. Great way to put it. His chin did look suspect. He's been knocked out a few times in his career, but I see him taking this fight to the ground and getting a submission with us against Schmelzberger. Every time he loses, he's also been finished, Schmelzberger. He's 2 via KO and 2 via submission, but 2 of them was in the amateur scene, and one of them was against William Knight, who's also a UFC fighter right now.
Oh, wow. That's actually really shocking. It's weird when you find out these guys fought each other way back when.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was a quick recap. We've kept that under 40 minutes. We're doing well at this, Oscar. We're getting shorter and shorter, but we're keeping it more. We're keeping the information still there. But yeah, a great fight night we have this weekend. Edwards versus Muhammad. Some great fights on the main card. Some great fights on the prelims. Make sure you tune in. We're going to tune in, and there's going to be some cracker fights. We're going to recap them on Monday or Tuesday's show. Make sure to tune in on YouTube. We'll be there. We'll be live. Me and Oscar. Make sure you tune in. Thank you for tuning in right now. If you're watching this on demand, well, I don't know what you call it, on after, make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe button, and follow us. Make sure.
Yeah, just one note. Yep. Fabian Edwards is going to get interviewed by Lenny after this. So if you're listening to audio, we're going to transition right to Fabian Edwards. He'll probably be talking about what Leon Edwards has done in his camp in preparation for Belal Muhammad. And also, Austin Hubbard will also be interviewed on this podcast episode if you're listening to it on the audio platforms.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for joining me, Oscar, and a very good fight from us too. And look forward to the fights because I am, and hope the fights are good, and we have a great evening. Thank you very much for watching, and a very goodbye.